be sure to stick around this YouTube channel because things are about to get a little bit more busy on here. Like and subscribe. I think I was supposed to say that at the end, but I'll remind you at the end as well. Good morning everyone. Welcome to my first proper YouTube video. I mean, I do have a couple other videos on my channel, but they were filmed on my iPad and on my phone, and I was also in hotel quarantine, so I sort of questioned my mental state, and I think my mindset was a little bit fragile at the time and I was just trying to get by, so it was more of a coping mechanism rather than an actual venture. But yeah, so here I am. I've decided to bring it back after all this time. I was actually lying on the couch a week or so ago, and I was thinking about buying a GoPro. I had a lot of time on my hands. I broke my hip 2 weeks ago. Today's the 2-week anniversary of the surgery, but I'll talk more about that later. That's another tangent. What am I doing at the moment? Let's get back on track. Well, at the moment I'm on a morning walk to the bakery, just buying some bread. It's always a nice wholesome thing to do in the mornings, I think. Go for a little morning wander. I'm starting to get a little bit hangry, so I'm gonna head off to the bakery now. I'll take you with me. We'll go and buy some bread, and yeah, then I think I'll just take you around with me for my day. I don't have a terribly exciting day planned compared to the average human, but for me today is actually quite a big day because I haven't really been doing a hang of a lot. I'm getting my stitches out, I'm going to the physio, might even stop for coffee somewhere. Come on Ella, think of some other things to do. I might go to the supermarket, I know. I'll go for some wanders around town. Yeah, that's about it, but hopefully I can make it relatively exciting because otherwise I certainly don't have anything to vlog about right now. Also, I saw the weather forecast and that it was going to be 26 degrees today in April, I know. So I decided to wear shorts from the get-go, really. 7:30 a.m. I put these shorts on, and I'm getting some strange looks from the Spanish people. Anyway, they wouldn't wear shorts in 26 degrees in April, even if it is 26 degrees, but I'm wearing them in the morning and it's probably like 13 degrees right now. That's my estimate. So yeah, I'm not making any friends this morning, that's for sure. So it's the 2-week anniversary of my crash today. It's not like I've been counting down those days or anything. These past 2 weeks have gone quite slowly, and only 2 more weeks until I can get an x-ray on my hip to see what's happening. So I'm just about to go and get the stitches out. I would show you the scar, but it's in a bit of an intimate location actually. I'll give you a bit of a preview. Just ignore the mess. Just ignore the mess on my bed. This is what we're talking about. This is what we're dealing with here. We've got like a full-blown 15 to 20 centimeter scar that goes right down from my tummy button into the sensitive parts. Not the full way down, but quite a long way down. Yeah, nobody asked to see this, but I'm going to show you anyway. This is about as far as I'm going to take you down because it is quite extensive and nobody really wants to see this, let's be real, but I'm showing you anyway. So yeah, I hope it doesn't look quite as bad and as ugly as it does right now once everything's removed, but yeah, it is what it is. Just looks like I've had a C-section basically, but I haven't seen the baby anywhere. It's 10:33, my appointment is at 10:42, so I better get a move on actually because it might take me a while to hobble my way over there to the medical centre. Exciting times! Hit the first milestone, the stitches removal. back after getting my stitches out, which is a good job done. Parental guidance recommended for that footage. There's obviously not going to be much walking and talking going on in this vlog, more just stationary shots, but that's alright, we'll make it work. Just heading back to my apartment now. I've got physio in an hour or so, so that'll be good. I'll take you along for that as well. And I'm just protecting my chin right now. That's a really good look. Hi Pre, would you like a snack? Yeah. Usually I request the bread to be cut at the shop, but that was just quite a lovely experience chopping it for myself. It just makes you realize how fresh and spongy and made with love this bread is. And it also keeps it a little bit fresher, I think. So that's my tip for the day. Cut your own bread. It's a fabulous experience. I don't want to turn this into a what I eat in a day, but my life does largely revolve around food. I do plan from meal to meal, so it would be rude not to show you what I'm eating today. This is actually the worst egg that I've ever cooked in my life. Doesn't it just look atrocious? I don't know what I did to it, but it's terrible. But I need the protein right now, so I'll get that into me. Don't mind me while I just do my hair quickly. I'm just going to explain my current injury situation and my crash and how it all came about, really. So, long story short, I crashed and broke my hip socket at Bruges de Panne, and I just remember we were coming up towards this intersection and I could see the bunch starting to go around to the left, and I was on the far right hand side of the bunch, and there was a rider right here, and my wheel was on the right of that rider. And I just remember seeing all of a sudden this curb. It wasn't a curb, it was just like we were coming up to an intersection, so there was a little bit of a footpath that had started to form, but it was a very slightly raised surface. And there wasn't much of a difference, but because I had riders to the left of me and I had this rider in front of me and my wheel was on the right, I couldn't actually move, and I had this very small space where the road was here and the curb was starting to narrow in, and unfortunately I suddenly saw it coming out of nowhere because the bunch moved over to the left, and then I had nowhere to go really except to try and find space within this tiny distance between this very slight curb and the road. But unfortunately I obviously must have hit this curb that I could sort of see with about 1 second to go, and I had no time to react, and I just went down like a ton of bricks, just straight onto my hip. Like my wheels were just completely taken out from underneath me. There was nothing I could do. I just went down completely, and straight on to this spot right here. It's actually healed very nicely. Just here. It's healed perfectly, actually. Coincidentally, that's exactly the same spot where the nail in my femur goes up into my hip. I broke my femur in 2020, so I already had a large nail in my leg called a gamma nail. Fun fact. You don't really need to know the name of the hardware, but there we go. So the screw, from the pressure, we think that the screw just went straight into my hip, and metal is stronger than bone, so certainly stronger than my bones, so the screw just went straight into my hip socket, and I ended up breaking my hip socket right around where right around the direction of the screw, basically. And when I crashed, I knew that I'd hit the ground really heavily because I could feel all the muscles around this area were spasming and they were really tight and they felt like they'd just taken a massive impact. And sometimes you don't, I mean, I've got experience in this, so sometimes when you fall over like that, you don't know if you've just done a lot of damage to the muscles and they've just gone into shock mode, or they're trying to protect something. So unfortunately, in most instances with me, they're trying to protect something. But I wasn't entirely sure, and I was really hopeful of the fact that perhaps I just landed heavily, but everything was okay, and I just needed to give it time to settle down. I went to hospital in the ambulance, and then the nurse or the doctor in ED, they did all the sort of the field tests, and they prodded and poked. I'd already done that in the ambulance for the 30-minute drive, so I knew what was hurting and what wasn't, but actually not much was hurting on touch, and I was sort of moving all my muscles to try and see if everything was working, and to massage them and to see what I could and couldn't do, and I could just feel a bit of resistance in my hip, but I just assumed that was my hip flexor or something. You can probably see up my pants, up my shorts right now, sorry. Then the doctor in the emergency department, she said, oh, I think everything's fine, but we'll take you for an x-ray just to be sure. And then I did the x-ray, and then obviously don't take anyone's word for it until you've seen an x-ray. Don't get your hopes up, because yeah, then the doctor came back and said that I'd broken my, I don't even know how to say the word, acetabulum, basically hip socket. That's the layman's term for it, hip socket. So yeah, and they said it was quite a nasty, comprehensive fracture, and I should require surgery for it. And then they mentioned 4 weeks non-weight bearing, and I started crying, and then I cried a bit more. The next day I had surgery to insert a plate and screws into my pelvis, so it's on the inner side, it's not on the outside of my hip socket, it's on the inside. So yeah, so they came in through the stomach. I thought they'd come in the back, but no, they came in the front, straight through. The surgery went really well, so I currently have a lot of metal work in this area. I mean, a lot. I think I might put an x-ray on this video. You'll be able to see when you're watching this right now whether me in editing mode decided to put that on there, but it's quite embarrassing just because there's so much in there, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's scary to look at. Basically, at the moment, I'm restricted to being on crutches for at least 4 weeks, so I'm not supposed to be doing any weight bearing at all. I'm supposed to just be feathering my foot on the ground and putting as little pressure as possible on my hip, because the plate and the screws, they're not going to go anywhere, but also it's a very compromised area. Like, a lot of pressure gets directed to this point, and it takes a lot of pressure when you're walking and when you're doing other things. So I feel like at the moment, after 2 weeks, I could actually ditch the crutches and walk around the place with one crutch, or around the house with just going from bench to bench with no crutches, but unfortunately I can't risk it, because if I put too much pressure on the area, then the plate and the screws might start to move. That's not ideal, because I don't want to get arthritis in the future. I want a fully functioning hip socket that's nice and smooth and everything goes around properly. So unfortunately, it's a little bit of short-term annoyance for long-term gain. So after 4 weeks, I'll get an x-ray and I'll see how the calcification process is going. I think that's the word. If so, that's a very impressive word for me to use. Yeah, we'll see how the healing is going and whether the bones start to look like they're nicely in place. But let me tell you, I am on a high calcium diet right now. Even my cheese is high calcium. It better be impressive, this x-ray at 4 weeks. I'm hoping there's some significant growth going on. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm very confident because I'm consuming calcium like it's going out of fashion. We'll see what's happening after the 4 weeks, but most likely it's going to be 6 weeks on the crutches, and then I can start to progressively load it up again. And my intel from fabulous surgeon in New Zealand, in Dunedin, Louis, thank you very much, Louis, he says that the bone should be rock solid by 10 weeks. So 10 weeks, I'll be able to do whatever I like, and from 6 weeks, I'll be able to start to put as much pressure on it as I want, progressively, building it up slowly, but the rate I'm going, I feel like I'm not gonna know that anything has happened in this area at 6 weeks. After 6 weeks, I'll probably be out on the road riding again. After 4 weeks, I hope to be on the trainer. Before then, if I'm feeling really good and I've got absolutely no pain, then I might start to ride on the bike for mobility. But I think next week I'm gonna go to the swimming pool, cut some laps, get a bit of aqua jogging in perhaps, just to do some cardio and some exercise that doesn't place any strain on my hip. That's it in a nutshell, really. I'm going to physio probably 3 times a week. I'm going to start to do some upper body work, because if you know me, you'll know my posture is absolutely terrible and I have a really dodgy left shoulder, so I'm going to try and use this time to get my shoulder a little bit better as well and strengthen that. What else is there to say? I've said a lot, so that's probably everything. Oh, people are messaging me. So yeah, at the moment I'm just doing physio and I'm using the Compex at home, using the Hyper Ice to relax my muscles, because my hip flex has taken a big hit with this surgery. They cut straight through here and prized things open, so yeah, the muscles in the area tend to be quite tight. And I'm feeling very optimistic about my recovery from this injury, because I can compare back to my broken femur, and I know that 2 weeks after my broken femur I didn't feel as mobile and as painless as I do feel right now. And the surgery was invasive in this area, but it certainly wasn't as invasive as the femur, because that was a bit more into my quad and also into my glute, and those muscle groups took a lot of time to get back to normal again. Probably by next week this will feel almost back to normal. I don't like to blow my own trumpet, but I have to admit I'm a pretty fast healer, and this isn't my first rodeo, so I like to think that I'll be able to put some lessons in place from the previous injuries I've had, and also my body's an old hand at this, so it knows how to heal really fast, and that'll also help me along, and I'll be back in no time. I'm just treating this like a mid-season off-season, really. I had my off-season back in November, back in December, but what's another off-season? Another 4 weeks off the bike, just with a little extra niggle, but it'll all be fine. It'll all work out in the end, and I'm confident that I'll be back racing maybe in July. Don't tell my coach Stephen, because he didn't want me to put any goals or pressure on myself, and I know that he'll probably watch this if he's made it to this point in the video, so yeah, I haven't said that. I'm an old hand at this. And she's happy. Just gotta pace myself. Started out a bit too hard, but it's like the hare and the tortoise, you know? We all know that story. We know who wins in the end. Not a bad setup. Contrary to popular belief, this is actually the first time I've visited a cafe this whole week. This is the first coffee I have bought for this entire week, which completely goes against the Girona assumptions. So yeah, just putting it out there that I don't do this every day, okay? As Lizzie Rayner just said, we look highly intellectual at the cafe with our books, but have yet to actually read them. When you're vegan at the cafe and they don't have any food options, you go to the bike shop and get some shit.
A bit of protein and me, and then for Sunday's ride.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Future planning, I like that.
Cost me an arm and a leg, but
The cost of being vegan.
yeah. Strength time, baby.
So it's the end of. I need to stop playing with my hair. Oh, it's so fluffy. So it's the end of the day now, and I am just sitting down, about to enjoy a protein flan and a bit of chocolate. And as a side note, I'd just like to say that in Spain you can get a fabulous selection of protein yogurts, sugar-free desserts. Like this one, for example, it's like a really nice Spanish flan. It tastes delicious, but it's sugar-free and it's got about 15 grams of protein. It's great. You can also get protein jellies as well. It's extraordinary. As all good YouTubers do, I'm just recording an outro, and I'd like to thank you for making it this far through the video. I understand that it's probably been quite a long video, so kudos to you. Give yourself a pat on the back, because it's probably been quite the marathon effort. If you've got any feedback, any comments, any things you liked, any things you didn't like, anything that you want to see or something that you don't want to see again, don't worry, I won't show you my stitches again. It's fine. That's just a one-off. Then please let me know. Give me your feedback. Drop some comments. A like would be good as well. But yeah, that's all I need to stop saying but yeah. That seems to be a bit of a go-to sentence filler for me. So that's one improvement I'll make. I was about to say it again. Okay, I'm going to finish the video now. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I said I'd say that again at the start, and I've said it again. I've remembered. So, see you next time. Peace. Thanks. Ciao. Oh, hello. Do you want to feature on my vlog? I'm starting on YouTube. Say something.